Here's some clips from conversations that I've had with previous students so you can hear about their experience of the class. The video is a little bit long, it's about 15 minutes, so if you don't want to watch the whole thing, feel free to bounce around and watch as many clips as you'd like. All right, here you go.
You doing this, making this a course and everything, that's something you can't get really on the internet, especially at a reasonable price. I thought it would take years to get this kind of understanding of different things. So I think this is great. Yeah.
I think as with like any class, I kind of came away just realizing like, oh, there's like so much to learn, you know?
To your credit, Eric, your experience as a teacher, like this class is so different than so many private lessons I've taken. With this, we had a rubric, we had clear, dedicated assignments. The test at the end was outlined weeks before, and you broke it up into various levels because not everybody's at the same place. It gives you a lot of confidence as a student knowing that the strategy and the plan has been so well thought out.
I was playing a set on Monday night. It was with the full band. And I usually had these like defaults when we're playing progressions. Like I know where my zones are on the neck. But for like one of the first times, my note choices weren't based on shapes. They weren't based on my defaults. I didn't trust myself as much as a guitar player before the class to be able to just do that. So as I was playing it, I was like, whoa, I think this is because of Eric. It was so funny. Like it was like this aha light bulb went off. Like I can do this all the time. So understanding the neck, I mean, that opened my mind so much. I've never had someone break down guitar like that, and it really, like, it really helped a lot. So I'm grateful.
It's been fun the couple times I've been playing with other people since then to like kind of know like, oh, if I play like the 1 and the 5 here, this will sound kind of nice, and then 7 down to 6, that'll sound good. It's kind of like cool to have those like things. After the class, I feel like I have a little bit of like a map moving forward. Whereas before it was like, well, there's folk guitarists who play these shapes, and then there's jazz guitarists, and I don't know what they're doing. It's like, years of thinking, oh, maybe I can just memorize some scales or something, and like trying to watch a YouTube video and it's going too fast. But I do feel like I didn't know any of that, and now I'm like taking a little step. I'm like, okay, now I know a little bit, and I just got to practice at this, and I can keep kind of working up. So I think you did a good job. I mean, it just shows that you put a lot of like not only practice into like being a musician, but into teaching music specifically, and like that. I think that came through.
Yeah. I think it's a great program. Like, I think you've got a good thing. I'm so happy to have materials, like something that I can go to, like a practice, like that. The note practice thing is so awesome.
But I like the way that the concept of doing the class by string, and then memorizing the notes and stuff. It seems like nobody's ever taught me in that way, and I think that way of learning is valuable.
Basically, I'm able to move more around the fretboard a little more freely. I could just like play chord progressions a lot easier and a lot quicker. I used to just like, and especially when I'm like goofing around in like an open tuning or something, doing just like going up and down, playing like 1 minor 2 minor 3 4 5. Like I would do that all the time, and that would be how I'd like think about chords. But then seeing like, oh yeah, this is actually like valuable to practice, and here's how you can practice it, was really useful. So having that structure was useful.
The structure is based on just really simple building blocks. It made it really easy for me to go, okay, so if I do this, then this is what I have to expect next. And I know that I was on somewhat of a more experienced level, but it was such a good experience to humble myself and just take it from day one and just move through it the way that you laid it out. Made it very beneficial for me in so many ways. It just catapulted me. The things that you take from this class will lead you to be able to figure anything out in any key and be proficient at it. And once you learn how to learn, you can learn anything, right? So this is a really good tool to teach someone how to teach themselves.
Before we started the class, I wasn't really practicing that as much as I could. I was kind of in a practice rut and just kind of doing the same thing all the time. So yeah, one of the things I liked about this class was that it gave me the structure every week through the classes and practice sheets, to really like dust off my knowledge of the fretboard. After the class was over, I was definitely able to, my note recognition was a lot better, and intervals as well. So I was able to find the notes on the fretboard quicker, basically. And also just thinking about the fretboard in a different way, more of a linear way up the neck as opposed to vertically from the lowest string to the highest string. So yeah, I think it was pretty valuable because when you combine that with what you already know and your like your bed of knowledge that you already have, yeah, it all adds up together. So I think that was a really cool thing.
First of all, you have a terrific teaching technique. You're very supportive, but you also have a list of accountability. The scales, were just really an insight. And I didn't know there was a pattern, to the major scale. And then if you talk to me about, the third is going to let you know whether it's a major or minor and stuff like that. I had no idea. None. Playing fifths, playing sevenths, playing sixths. And now, I'm in the conversation that I might not have been in the conversation before, because by the time that I figured it out, the conversation would have moved on. And now when I see little riffs, I know what they are.
Nobody had ever talked about note memorization in college. Like nobody had ever presented exercises for how to do that. I think there's a lot of value to that, because I would like to, any chord voicing I have, I would love to be able to immediately know the notes I'm playing and what function that they're doing. Because then you can start to get creative with your voicing instead of returning to the same shapes you've been playing for 10 years.
I mean, honestly, I really would recommend so many people to take your class, just because it will genuinely unlock the fretboard. It will, all those shapes and default patterns and kind of like personal cheat codes that you use for the guitar, I would say your course helps break those so that you're more free to actually just play without, it opens a new lane for your guitar playing, where you're not stuck with the same old, but you're able to explore new territory. For me, playing live, it really helped with how I played with a band and stuff like that. So yeah, and genuinely such a great, understanding, patient, knowledgeable teacher that pushes his students, but also is able to decipher what student needs what, sort of a thing. So yeah.
I think my favorite thing about it has honestly been having the practice sheets laying out exactly what I need to be doing. Because I'm seeing myself make progress with that for sure. Better understanding, definitely, of the fretboard and the major scale. And I thought it was going to be just theory, but it's also really practical. Doing the melodies and everything. So I've really enjoyed it. Definitely getting my money for it. I mean, especially when you weigh the value of getting an hour each week rather than that's cheaper than it would be if I was just doing hour lessons each week. I'm taking away, getting things to work on, practice each week. I definitely think so. I definitely learned a lot more. I understand the fretboard better.
The great value for me was practicing techniques, the matrix, for example, which is a fresh, creative way to really challenge whether you know something or you're just developing pattern recognition. Breaking up the guitar 6 strings into sets of 3 strings. Because when I was taught scales, it was always across all 6. It wasn't isolated. And, you know, similar to a bodybuilder working out the different muscle groups and trying to keep them uniform, I have certain string sets that I know aren't as well developed. So it'd be a great class for anybody that's at the beginning of their guitar journey, regardless of whether they have experience or not, because then they'll at least be given the landscape of the fretboard. They'll learn fundamental terms that they're going to hear again and again, and it gives them an opportunity to ask questions instead of having to go online and do all their own research, because sometimes you don't even know what to ask. You don't even know that you don't know. And by the end of this class, you'll be very familiar with what you don't know, and then can continue your education armed with that information.
Especially that was maybe one of my favorite parts about the class, was having like people of all different skill levels. Like, it was just awesome to be like, okay, I'm kind of like struggling with this, but here's a guy who like is just learning guitar. And then there's someone else in the class who, like, you know, you ask him a question, I'm like, what was that question? And there wasn't like any feeling of like, you know, everyone belonged. Everyone was just like learning. I thought you did a great job of balancing that, like, for everybody.
It was nice having the group sessions with other people though, just like see other people doing things. That was nice. If you were kind of like in a rut or whatever, practicing rut, it's definitely a good way to get out of that. Just the structure of it, and it's like so concentrated that, yeah, I think it was pretty valuable.
I love the Zoom format. I actually prefer it over a in-classroom experience because I can mute the audio for me. And if I want to practice or play something immediately, I'm not interrupting anybody else. It also removes the obstacle of needing to travel somewhere and build that into my schedule. As long as I'm sitting in the place that I've designed as my classroom, it's very easy. And what I like about the classroom setting instead of a private lesson is that you're able to feel like you're part of a group. And sometimes people ask questions that you wouldn't think to ask. And just the general experience of doing something in community is exciting and brings a flavor that you don't get maybe from an individual lesson.
Your drills for learning notes, terrific. Written materials, great. You know, made it a lot easier for kind of reference and to follow. I'm one of those that is kind of a visual learner. I have to take a look at it and see it, and that's, for me, that worked. You know, the other people in there did make it enjoyable. I would not have been exposed to musicians on that scale anyplace else. Overall, I'm very glad I took it. I think I learned a lot. You know, and I have presentation materials that I can keep. I have drills that I can keep. You know, I have those all where I can go to reference them, to use them.
I think you did a really, really awesome job with your curriculum. And I think this is a class that I don't think there's any level of guitar player that can't benefit from this. No matter what level that you're on, if this sounds like a good idea, it'll absolutely be beneficial for you.
If you're eager to commit to new information, new practice routines, to deepen your understanding of the fretboard, be a part of a community, be held accountable, and just jumpstart your musicianship, consider signing up for the Fretboard Freedom Mastery class. I don't think you're going to get better bang for your buck for the amount of dollars you're putting in, and then the information and the structure that's given to you, which you can take beyond the class and into the rest of your guitar plan. So I would give this a solid 5 out of 5 stars.
Thanks so much for listening to the previous students' experience of the class. I am just so happy that people have had positive experiences going through this curriculum that I've created. It's been such an amazing challenge for me as a teacher to kind of create this from scratch. And the fact that it's been helpful to people is humbling and exciting for me. So if you or anyone that you know has any interest in a class like this, please reach out. I would love to talk to you. I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. And maybe you or someone you know could be in future classes. So yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.